Good morning and welcome to Tuesday as we continue our week of reflection and seeking inspiration to guide us through the days that we face, seeking God's help and God's wisdom to assist us in navigating the various challenges that we face day by day. And so as we come together this morning, we do so mindful that God is continually blessing us and keeping us as the days come and go. And we give thanks. We give abundant thanks for all that God has done for us and all that God continues to do in our lives. And so once again, we want to take a little time out as we prepare ourselves for a day and just bring everything else to stand still. Just allow ourselves just these few moments to just be alone with God and to be able to reflect on what God is doing for us today. So we do so as we enter into our special place and we close the door. In closing the door, we leave everything that does not contribute to this time for us outside, and we come in to this place alone, just with ourselves. And even our thoughts, we want to minimize as best we can without making them an issue. So as we take a few breaths, we allow ourselves to sink down from our heads and gradually into our heart space. Just feel yourself gently sinking down into that place of deep gratitude and love, deep compassion, peace. Just allow yourself to be in there for a few moments. And as you breathe into that space, just bring your world in there. Because in reality, your world is already within you. It's not outside of you, it's within you. Everything that you see in the world, you bring into yourself and you color it as you would have it colored. Every person that you meet, you color them. So what you perceive and what is real may very well be two different things. Because what we see within is what we have reshaped and reorganized to fit our purposes. And you must be aware of this. So, our world is already within us. It's to bring our attention to all that we have within. And as we bring our attention there, we seek to give love, to hold everyone in love. And to allow love to be our prime directive. that which is at the core of everything we say and do. Love abounds. Love must always abound. O gracious, O loving, O faithful God, as we open our eyes to this new day, we feel so blessed. Though the trials and the challenges wait for us on the outside, in this moment we feel so blessed. And we ask that this sense of being so blessed may burn deep within us like a raging fire, that as we confront all that we have on the outside, we with this raging fire of love may consume it, that it may be no match for this divine love. We know so often we seek to fix our own challenges, and we hardly ever allow divine love to play a major role. Today, may divine love go before us, and may it assist us in all that we need to do, that by grace we may accomplish our tasks for today, and at evening we can say thanks be to God. Hear this prayer now and always. Amen. We turn to Mark's reading, and we want to share yet another story from Mark. In those days, when there was again a great crowd without anything to eat, he called his disciples and said to them, I have compassion for the crowd, because they have been with me now for 3 days and have nothing to eat. If I send them away hungry to their homes, they will faint on the way. And some of them have come from a great distance. His disciples replied, How can one feed these people with bread here in the desert? He asked them, How many loaves do you have? They said 7. Then he ordered the crowd to sit down on the ground. And he took the 7 loaves, and after giving thanks, he broke them and gave them to his disciples to distribute. And they distributed them to the crowd. They had also a few small fish. And after blessing them, he ordered that these too should be distributed. They ate and were filled, and they took up the broken pieces left over, 7 baskets full. Now there were about 4,000 people, and he sent them away. Here ends the reading. One of the really important aspects of Jesus' ministry is his compassion. It is never very far away from anything that he's saying or doing. You can always pick it up. It seems to be an ever-present aspect of who he is. To be compassionate. To feel for other persons. And we see it too today in the passage, feeding the 4,000. He says that they've been with him for 3 days. They've been listening to him. They've been digesting his words. And one would think that they were so much into him that they probably didn't recognize that they would be hungry. But Jesus recognizes that when the spell, as it were, of his words came to an end and they were on their way home, it's probably then that that sense of hunger would hit them, and some of them lived a fair distance. So Jesus decided that he should get his disciples to assist in feeding them. A world can do with some compassion. Well, actually not some compassion, a good dose of compassion. But what troubles me is that when we look at the life of Jesus and we see that in addition to his miracles and all the other things he had to say, the compassion was so central to his life. Yet those who claim to follow Jesus are not generally as compassionate. And if we are, we tend to be compassionate to certain people and not others. One can't help but wonder what would happen in our world if those who followed Christ would actually truly follow Christ. Engage the world like Christ engaged the world. I admit Christ came in as a higher being, and he offered us an example. And maybe in this journey of ours, we may not ascend enough to be able to fully follow what he has done. But I think it's still important for us to hold those things before us and see how far we can reach, how much we can do with the time that we have. Compassion is an important component of humanity. To have compassion for others, to feel with them, to feel their discomfort. Sometimes it happens without us even recognizing it. When something major happens, we all kind of feel it in one way or another. But when Jesus gets into compassion, what we notice is that there's not just a feeling, but the feeling leads to an action. We can have that empathy for, but it is only when we add an action to it that compassion really occurs. So many things cross our minds, so many things come before our face, and we're moved by them. But we're oftentimes not moved enough to do something about them. So it's not just being moved or touched. It's about doing. Having had the experience of being connected to, then we do. Because the two things together is what calls us to be human. The being and the action coming out of that being. So Jesus showed this for us and to us constantly. And I want to encourage us today as we go into our world to do the same. Maybe in little ways, but to do the same. To pay attention to those situations that touch us. And while in every instance we may not be able to actually do something, but if we would consider what could we do? What could we do in this circumstance? And who knows that what could I do may turn into what must I do. And what must I do can become what I do actually do. Jesus notes the condition and Jesus acts in response to the condition. You and I as well, we need to adopt the same, and we need to not just feel it, but also to act on it in order that God's will may be accomplished, not only in our own lives, but also in the lives of those with whom we come in contact. We are all journeying. We are all walking together. We all have the same purpose, the same intention. We are all trying to get to the same place. Let us help each other along the road, that somehow or another we may all be able to make it home.